We have 5 banners in patch 3.1 and most of them are great units. We have 2 new characters together with 3 reruns. But the question is, who is going to be worth it for your account? Should you pull for the new character or take the rerun instead? Don't worry my friends, in this video will help you to decide which character is the best for you to pull based on your account condition. Disclaimer, this video consists of my personal opinion, so feel free to disagree and share your own thoughts in the comments. Alright, let's get started. On the first phase of 3.1, we have aemeath as the new character. She's a 5-star limited fusion character that uses sword as her weapon. She is a main damage dealer that will have 2 playstyles, Toon Rupture or Fusion Burst. This leads to a different and more variety of team comp as well. Her damage is mostly considered as resonance liberation damage, can respond to Toon Rupture, and has the ability to give decent damage amp to her team, excluding herself. She's also the type of character that can switch freely between her human form or the mech form. Her main focus is to unlock her third liberation, which is only available if you cast her enhanced resonance skill multiple times, doing intro skill, and max out 2 of her forte bars. This way, she could deliver a final hit that also considered as resonance liberation damage. Since aemeath has 2 playstyles, Toon Rupture or Fusion Burst, this opens up more possibilities to her team comp. You can either play her with Lene and Morny, since both of these units can respond to Toon Rupture and hence will let aemeath to deal more Toon Rupture damage, as well as to gain that 60% crit damage buffs from one of her passives. With Lene and Morny, I could say that her Rupture team is completed already. With Lene that can give tons of buff and liberation amplification, aemeath will hit enemies like truck. Same goes for Morny. Outro can give general damage amplification, a 40% damage boost if there are any Toon Interviewed available, and let aemeath frequently trigger Toon Break skill. As for the Fusion Burst team, you guys know why Chisa is going to be the rerun banners. In fact, her banner is in the same phase as aemeath. But I think this FB team is not yet complete, since aemeath needs someone in the team that can apply Fusion Burst consistently to make one of her passive to reach optimum level. There is also Lupa in the same phase, someone that wants to form a mono fusion team, and this indirectly says that she invited aemeath to join her team. It's technically doable with Brand as the sustain. So aemeath has a lot of teams and you guys as the player can choose which team she is going to end up with. But as far as I can see, Lene is still the core of aemeath's team. With her, you can form the Toon Rupture team together with Morny, and this will be aemeath's premium compositions. Same goes for Fusion Burst, whose member currently lacks someone that can consistently apply Fusion Burst, but with Lene, she can at least fill the second slot in the meantime, and this pair will work just fine. So if you have Lene, aemeath's pull priority will be high, especially if you urgently need a fusion DPS. But what if you don't have Lene? Then the only team option remaining is the mono fusion, I guess. But with 2 other members that can't respond or inflict Fusion Burst to make the best out of her passive and forte, aemeath's damage may not be as high. That's why she needs Lupa to somehow compensate for that loss. If you don't have Lupa or even Lene, then I guess you have to skip aemeath first, unless you're already saving up a huge amount of astrite to invest in aemeath together with her teams. And on the second phase, we have a new character, Luuk Herssen. He is a 5-star limited character that has an attribute of Spectro and will use Gauntlet as his weapon. His role is going to be the main DPS in the team. Most of Luuk's damage will be considered as basic attack damage and also can respond to Toon Strength Interviewed, while simultaneously can also inflict 1. His gameplay is more dominant in mid-air. Because of this, without leaving him vulnerable while in the air, he is also capable of having a defensive buff that will make him immune to interruption, as well as decreasing the damage taken while being airborne. He's going to be using his forte to enhance his resonance skill, which can transform into 3 forms, and these attacks will be considered as basic attack damage. While performing the ability, he will gain an increase in his liberation multiplier, whose damage will also be counted as basic attack damage. Luuk is the type of DPS that have an easy rotation and gameplay, since some of his kit restricts him to be swapped early to perform a quick swap playstyle, as doing this will reset his combo from the start and even lock some of his base moves. So his rotation is pretty simple. It's a 1 to 2 to 3 rotation type of character, and this can be a solution for players that don't want any complicated gameplay. On the contrary, if you hate simplicity and will find that his gameplay is boring, then it is okay to skip him. Also remember that most of Luuk's gameplay will be executed in mid-air. This can also be the reason of why player will skip his banner, but at the same time can be the reason why people will be main him in the future. But he is going to be a great Spectral DPS that relies on Toon Strain interfered. If you urgently need Spectral DPS, then Luuk is a great choice, and he is very easy to use. Since his damage is considered as basic attack damage, there's also a cheaper teammate that still works with him, which is Sanhua. So his pull priority is going to be high if you need a Spectral DPS. But if you already have Zani together with Phoebe, then I think it's more than enough already. So this way, his pull priority sits at medium level. And we have Chisa's rerun banner in the first half. Chisa is a 5-star Havoc Broadblade support focused on negative status gameplay, typically filling the third slot in your negative status team compositions. She excels at applying Havoc Bane, which inflicts defense threat on enemies, while also granting defense ignore and damage bonus buffs to allies that rely on negative status effects. In addition, Chisa can increase the stack count of all NS applied to enemies, further amplifying team damage. She performs well in both single target and AoE scenarios thanks to her ability to group enemies and apply negative status across multiple waves. Alongside this utility, she offers healing and a modest amount of personal damage, making Chisa a well-rounded, general-purpose support for negative status teams. But you have to remember that all the buffs and debuffs from her kit only apply to some units that are capable of inflicting or even dealing negative status damage. Outside of that, Chisa's buff is almost useless. That said, it is safe to say that she really works well with Carte and Chiakona to fill the third slot in the party, but with one condition: she must equip her signature weapon to really see a major upgrade over her F2P alternative, which in this case is Aero Rover. I'm not saying that Chisa's potential is 100% locked behind her own Broadblade. In fact, she could still perform well with Rastros Razor, a standard banner weapon. It's just that her competition here is a unit that every player has in their account, complete with their free 5-star signature weapon as well. To see a big difference, Chisa might need to equip her Kumokiri. Otherwise, why would you want to spend maybe a huge amount of Astrite just to add something to a complete team already? Furthermore, her rotation also not that fast, maybe on par with Aero Rover. That's why to cover that up, we need her damage, when in reality, her personal damage output is just good, not amazing. That's why as patch 3.0 approached, her banner was like a bait, making people believe that she must be the key for future characters. This also supported that developers make slight changes and buffs to almost all types of negative status. But it turned out, the situation had worsened. Kuro literally released a completely new mechanic, the Toon Break gimmicks, making Chisa completely losing her identity. Sure, her personal damage is decent, nothing to seem extraordinary, but still okay. That's why to make her seem more flexible and more useful outside of negative status team, you could technically make her as the main carry. Especially when Linnea's banner was released, she offers multiple buffs as well as liberation damage amplification, which is something what Chisa needs to unlock her potential as the main DPS. But I think this is also not as effective as making Yuno the main carry. In Yuno's situation, maybe she has plenty of self buffs on her kit, whereas Chisa needs more to make her stand alone. But on the bright side, aemeath is here to somehow save Chisa and to make that future-proof statement works. With Amy who can have two different team comps with Toon Break or the Fusion Burst, we might see Chisa shine again. With her utility, buffs and outro skill, she can help Amy to perform well in the future and make her team options broader. So if you have Carte and Chiakona and want to upgrade her team, you can pull Chisa, but make sure to take her signature as well. Her own character priority pool is medium for Carte, but making her weapon pool priority is high if you want to see a big gap over the Aero Rover. But if you are just doing fine using Carte in the team with F2P sustain, it's okay to skip Chisa. Now as for Amy, they could work together, that's why they decided to make Chisa rerun in this 3.1. If you want to play Fusion Burst style for Amy, Chisa is definitely the right sustain for her, making her priority medium to high. But if your account is already complete with Morny and Linnea, why don't you just form a Toon Break Amy with these two ladies? The fact that Amy's Fusion Burst team is not yet complete, she needs someone that can consistently apply FP in the future. If you have Morny and Linnea already, Chisa's pull priority is somewhere in the middle. Now we also have Lupa's banner in the first half. She is a 5-star Fusion Broadblade character whose role in the team is to buff other Fusion characters, while also contribute to team's damage output, since Lupa's personal damage is something that should not be underestimated. Lupa's gameplay is actually pretty straightforward and somehow easier to be executed. If no intro is available, open with her skill, press ultimate, then spam basic attack several times until Forte is ready. Press skill, then activate her outro if ready. This could also be performed while doing quick swap. Through her ultimate, Lupas not only deal damage to enemies, but she can make all of your team members enter Pack Hunt and Glory state. In this Pack Hunt state, it gives your whole team a 10% attack increase, as well as 10% fusion damage bonus. This attack bonus will be tripled if you perform 2 intros, while the fusion damage bonus will be increased by 20% if your team consists of 3 fusion members. While in Glory state, your whole party damage will ignore 6% of enemies' fusion res for each one fusion character in the team, stacking up to 3 times. So this is where her mono fusion team is formed, together with Brand or Changli. But it seems like having another new fusion unit can add another team comps for Lupa. Yep, with Amy, I think Lupa can synergize well with her, forming a mono fusion team with Brand as the sustain. This is also probably why Lupa's banner will be rerunning alongside Amy's. Not only attack, fusion damage bonus, and fusion res ignore, Lupa can still give another 15% fusion damage bonus from her best in-slot echo sets, which is the Flaming Claw print. And if you equip her signature, she will also give your team another 24% fusion damage bonus when casting heavy attacks. So yeah, overall Lupa is a great character. Her restriction to mono team is honestly not bringing much problem in the meta. In fact, it gives a new enjoyable variety of composition that the player can utilize. So if you are planning to invest in fusion DPS, Lupa is the perfect choice. Her pull priority will be high. And on the second phase, together with Luke's banner, we have Galbrena. She's a limited 5-star character that wields a pistol and has an attribute of fusion. She's going to be the main DPS whose damage benefit a lot from any heavy attack or even echo skill damage amplification buff. Galbrena will mostly rely on her wings to deal damage, which is a special state that can be unlocked once her forte is full. Galbrena is a carry that has great self buffs that include damage amplification up to 20%, as well as attack increased by 20%. Her ultimate also not only deals echo damage, but it can increase the damage multiplier of her melee attacks once you unlock her special state called the Demon Hypostasis. She also benefits from allies whose ability can be considered as casting echo skills. This will let her increase the enemy's damage taken up to 60%. Galbrena also has a relatively easy gameplay. Most of the time you will be spamming basic attacks with her, and her team comps are actually quite varied. This includes the mono fusion with Brand and Lupa, the F2P team with Verina and Mortevi, dual DPS with Frolova and Shorekeeper, and even her premium teams with Chiyuan. She performs really well with these teams, especially if you equip her with signature weapon. Of course, she's not the type of character that heavily restricted to her own weapon. In fact, static miss is already sufficient, with a condition when she is paired with her premium team that include Chiyuan and his signature. So far, Galbrena is a really great fusion DPS and it's always worth it to pull for her. The only downside of her that I can think of is the backloaded damage. She only could deal significant amount of damage and obliterate enemies once she is in her Demon Hypostasis form, which is already 2/3 of her rotations. Other than that, she is a completely fine unit. It's okay if you want to skip Amy, maybe because you don't like her design, or maybe if you dislike her cutscene like combat animation. Don't worry, Galbrena will be there for you. Her priority will be high if you are looking for a fusion DPS. The fact that she have multiple team options, this can be a plus point for her. But if you already have monofusion premium teams and you want to pull for Amy, then Galbrena value and priority will be dropped to medium level. So that's all from the 3.1 Wuthering Waves who to pull video. I hope this content can cleanse away your confusion and doubts about which character is the best to pull for your account. So tell me, after watching this video, who are you going to pull in this patch? Or maybe we'll skip them all and wait for 3.2 where Sigrika is rumored to be released? Share your own thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Turn on notification as well so you won't miss out on my next Wuthering Waves content. I will see you guys on my next one. Bye bye.